Captain Veltar looked at the strange readings on his screen. The gentle blue alien had never seen anything like this before. His ship, the Harmony's Light, was a peaceful research vessel. They studied plants and animals on different worlds. His crew of 200 scientists had been exploring this quiet part of space for months. "Captain, I am getting worried about these readings," said Science Officer Nilara. Her voice was soft, like all Villani people. They were plant eaters who never fought with anyone. "There are many large ships coming toward us." Veltar's long blue fingers touched the controls. The screen showed 12 huge warships dropping out of hyperspace. They were black and covered in spikes. He knew what they were right away. Korthak ships. His heart filled with fear. The Korthak were the worst species in the galaxy. They looked like giant insects with sharp claws and hard shells. They stood 3 times taller than a Villani. They conquered peaceful worlds and took prisoners to work as slaves. Everyone in the galaxy feared them. A harsh voice came through the radio. "Villani ship, this is Warlord Thekmor of the Korthak Empire. You will surrender now. We will take your ship and your crew. Do not try to run." Veltar looked around his bridge. His crew members were shaking with fear. They had no weapons on their ship. The Villani people never made weapons. They believed in peace and learning. "Please," Veltar said into the radio. "We are scientists. We mean no harm to anyone. We study plants and animals. Let us go in peace." The Korthak warlord laughed. It was a terrible sound like metal scraping on stone. "You will make good workers in our mines. Your soft hands will dig until they bleed. Prepare to be boarded." Nilara turned to the captain with tears in her large eyes. "What do? We cannot fight them. We do not even have small weapons." Veltar thought fast. Their only hope was to send a distress call. Maybe another ship would hear them. Maybe someone would help. He knew it was not likely. The Korthak were too strong, but he had to try. "Send an emergency message on all frequencies," he told his communications officer. "Tell everyone what is happening here. Maybe someone will remember us." The message went out into space. "This is the Villani research ship Harmony's Light. We are under attack by Korthak forces. 12 enemy warships are preparing to board us. We have no weapons. We need help. Please, if anyone can hear this, we have families, we have children, please help us." Far away in another part of space, Captain Li Wu was drinking coffee on the bridge of his ship. The Iron Wolf was a human destroyer. It was small, but very strong. Li was Korean and had been in the Space Navy for 15 years. He was a good captain who cared about his crew. "Captain, we are getting a distress call," said Communications Officer Park Yu. She was young but very smart. "It sounds bad." Li put down his coffee. "Put it on the speakers." The desperate voice of Veltar filled the bridge. Li could hear the fear in the alien's voice. He could also hear other voices in the background. They were crying. "Where is this coming from?" Li asked. Tactical Officer Park Hana checked her computers. "The signal is from the Outer Rim, sir. About 2 hours away at maximum speed. It is definitely Villani. They are peaceful people." Li knew about the Villani. They were some of the nicest aliens in the galaxy. They shared their medical knowledge with everyone. They never hurt anyone. If the Korthak were attacking them, it was like attacking children. "How many Korthak ships?" Li asked. "The message says 12, sir. We only have 1 ship." Park Hana looked worried. Engineer Han Sol spoke up from his station. "Sir, our orders are to patrol this sector. Command told us to wait for backup if we find trouble." Li stood up and walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. He could see the stars stretching out before them. Somewhere out there, peaceful scientists were about to die. The Korthak would kill some and make the rest into slaves. Dr. Choi Min, the ship's doctor and alien language expert, had been listening. "Captain, the Villani saved my daughter's life last year. Their doctors on Earth Station helped her when she was sick. They would not even take payment." Li thought about his orders. He thought about the 12 Korthak ships. He thought about 200 innocent scientists who just wanted to study plants. "Park Yu, send a message to command. Tell them we are responding to a distress call. Park Hana, set course for those coordinates. Maximum speed." Sir, Han Sol said quietly, 12 ships against 1. The odds are not good. Lee sat back down in his captain's chair. Maybe not. But those people will be dead in an hour if we do nothing. We are the only ship close enough to help. Commander Kim Jun, the weapons officer, smiled. Sir, the Iron Wolf has teeth. Let me show these bugs what human weapons can do. All hands, this is the captain, Lee announced to the whole ship. We are going to help some friends. It will be dangerous. But we did not join the Navy to be safe. We joined to protect people who cannot protect themselves. The crew began to prepare for battle. In the engine room, Han Sol pushed the engines to their limits. The ship jumped into hyperspace, racing toward the fight. On the Korthak flagship, Warlord Thekmor was getting ready to board the Villani ship. His warriors were sharpening their claws. They looked forward to seeing the soft aliens beg for mercy. Warlord, said his communications officer, we are getting a new signal. Another ship is coming. What kind of ship? Thekmor asked. Human, sir. Just one destroyer. Thekmor laughed again. Humans? Those primitive Deathworlders? Let them come. We will destroy them first, then take the Villani. It will be good practice for my warriors. Back on the Harmony's light, Veltar was trying to keep his crew calm. The Korthak ships were getting closer. Soon they would dock with his ship, and the nightmare would begin. Captain, Nylara said with a shaking voice, I am reading a new ship on sensors. It is small but moving very fast. Who is it? Veltar asked. The computer says it is human, from something called the United Earth Navy. Veltar had heard of humans. They were new to the galaxy. Most aliens thought they were strange and violent because they came from a dangerous world. But they had always been friendly to the Villani. They are sending us a message, the communications officer said. A new voice came through the radio. It was strong and calm. Villani ship, this is Captain Li Wu of the UES Iron Wolf. We received your distress call. Help is on the way. Stay strong. Tears ran down Veltar's face. Someone had come. Someone had heard their call for help. He did not know if one human ship could fight 12 Korthak vessels, but at least they would not die alone. Thank you, he whispered into the radio. Thank you for coming. The Iron Wolf dropped out of hyperspace like a metal comet. It was much smaller than the Korthak ships, but it moved with deadly purpose. On the bridge, Captain Lee looked at the enemy fleet surrounding the helpless research vessel. Weapons status? He asked. All systems ready, sir. Commander Kim Jun replied. Kinetic cannons loaded, plasma torpedoes armed, point defense online. Communications, open a channel to the Korthak ships. Lee's face appeared on screens across the enemy fleet. Korthak vessels, this is Captain Li Wu. You will withdraw from this system immediately. The Villani ship is under our protection now. Warlord Thekmor appeared on Lee's screen. The huge insect alien was covered in scars from many battles. Little human, you do not understand what you face. We are 12 ships. You are 1. Leave now and we will let you live. Lee smiled. It was not a nice smile. You have 10 seconds to start moving away from that research ship. After that, we open fire. The Korthak warlord laughed. You are either very brave or very stupid, human. Why not both? Lee replied. Time's up. 3 weeks later, Captain Yuna stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 47 different species filled the great chamber on the neutral world of Concordia. She had never been so nervous in her life. The chamber was huge, designed to accommodate beings of many different sizes and shapes. Some representatives breathed different atmospheres and sat in special environmental suits. Others were so small they needed amplification devices to be heard. A few were energy beings that appeared as glowing lights. At the center of the chamber sat High Counselor Quan, an ancient being from the ethereal species. His voice echoed with the authority of thousands of years of galactic governance. Captain Yuna of the Villani, he intoned, you have requested this emergency session to discuss the status of the species known as humans from the world called Earth. The council will hear your testimony. Captain Yuna activated the holographic display system. Images appeared showing the human rescue of her ship, the peaceful interactions between species, and the weeks of cultural exchange that followed. Honored counselors, she began, I stand before you to report that everything our civilization believes about humans is wrong. A murmur went through the chamber. Several representatives looked skeptical. 3 weeks ago, my research ship suffered catastrophic engine failure in the outer system of a world we believed to be uninhabited. We sent a distress call, not knowing that the planet was Earth, home to the species we call Deathworlders. She showed the recording of the human fleet arriving. 47 species gasped as they saw the massive warships dropping out of hyperspace. 50 human warships responded to our call, ships capable of destroying planets, crewed by beings we had been taught to fear above all others. Representative Jisoo of the Aquatic Confederation spoke up. And they attacked you as expected? No, counselor. They saved us. Captain Yuna played the recordings of Admiral Jinwoo's first communications, of Technical Sergeant Dong Yun carefully repairing Villani technology, of Dr. Yunji developing new medical treatments for crystalline physiology. For 3 days, hundreds of humans worked to repair our ship and keep my crew alive. They treated us with kindness, respect, and infinite care. Not once did any human threaten us or demand anything in return for their help. High Counselor Kwan leaned forward. This is interesting testimony, Captain Yuna. But how do we know these humans were not simply trying to deceive you for some hidden purpose? Because, honored counselor, I have spent 3 weeks living among them on their ships and on my own world. I have seen how they treat each other, how they raise their children, how they respond to problems. I have studied their history, their culture, their technology, and their values. She changed the display to show scenes from the cultural exchange. Humans and Villani working together, sharing meals, teaching each other about their worlds. Humans are not monsters, counselors. They are people. They evolved on a dangerous world that forced them to become strong, fast, and tough. But they use these abilities to protect others, not to harm them. Representative Sujin of the Gentle Winds Collective spoke in her soft, musical voice. But, Captain, their world is classified as a death world. Surely no peaceful species could evolve in such a hostile environment. That's exactly the misconception I'm here to address, Captain Yuna replied. She showed images of Earth's environment and wildlife. Yes, Earth is a dangerous world by our standards. It has predators, extreme weather, high gravity, and toxic atmosphere levels. But this environment didn't create monsters. It created a species with an incredible drive to protect and help others. She showed more recordings from her time with the humans. Admiral Jinwoo explaining how humans worked together to survive Earth's challenges. Dr. Yunji describing how human medicine was developed to save people from injuries and diseases. Technical Sergeant Dong Hyun showing how human engineering was designed to solve problems quickly in emergency situations. Every ability that makes humans seem frightening to us serves a peaceful purpose. Their strength is used to rescue people from disasters. Their speed helps them reach accident victims quickly. Their advanced weapons technology was developed to protect their families and communities from Earth's dangerous wildlife. Representative Young Ho of the Crystal Garden stood up. But what about their history of warfare? Surely this proves they are violent by nature. Captain Yuna had been expecting this question. Counselors, I have studied human military history extensively. Yes, humans have fought many wars. But when you examine these conflicts closely, you discover something remarkable. The display showed a timeline of human conflicts. Most human wars were fought for the same reasons we would fight: to protect the innocent, to stop oppression, to defend their homes and families. The difference is that humans actually had to fight these battles, while most of our species were fortunate enough to evolve in environments where such conflicts never occurred. High Counselor Kwan was studying the data carefully. You're suggesting that human aggression is actually a form of protective behavior? Exactly, honored counselor. Humans don't fight because they enjoy violence. They fight because they're willing to put themselves in danger to protect others. Chief Scientist Boris Voice came through the communication system from the gallery where the human delegation was sitting. Counselors, may I add something to Captain Yuna's testimony? You may speak, Scientist Bora. I have been working with human scientists for 3 weeks. Their technology and scientific methods are remarkable. But what impressed me most was their attitude toward knowledge. Humans don't seek knowledge for power or advantage. They seek it to solve problems and help people. She activated her own display showing collaborative research projects. Human engineers designed new tools specifically to help repair Villani technology. Human doctors developed treatments for crystalline physiology without being asked. Human computer specialists created translation programs to help our species communicate better. Representative Jisoo looked thoughtful. But if humans are truly peaceful, why do they travel in such large, heavily armed fleets? Captain Yuna smiled. Because they expect trouble and prepare for it. But they hope they won't need to fight. She showed the detailed sensor logs from the rescue operation. The human fleet that came to save us was prepared for anything. Pirates, hostile aliens, natural disasters, or technical emergencies. They brought weapons in case they needed to fight, medical supplies in case people were injured, engineering, equipment in case repairs were needed, and food and water in case refugees needed care. They came prepared for war but hoping for peace, High Counselor Quan observed. Yes, Counselor, that's exactly what humans are. A species that prepares for the worst while working for the best. The chamber was quiet as the representatives considered this information. Finally, Representative Sujin spoke again. Captain Yuna, what are you asking the Council to do? I'm asking you to reconsider humanity's classification as a dangerous species. I'm asking you to invite human representatives to join the Galactic Council as equal members. And I'm asking you to review the cases of other species that have been excluded because they evolved on dangerous worlds. You believe other Deathworld species have been misjudged as well? I think it's very likely, Counselor. If we can be so wrong about humans, how many other species have we rejected based on fear rather than facts? High Counselor Quan stood up slowly. Captain Yuna, your testimony is compelling, but this is a decision that affects the safety of the entire galactic community. We cannot make it lightly. I understand, honored Counselor. That's why I brought proof. Admiral Jinwoo's voice came through the communication system. High Counselors, Captain Yuna has my permission to share all of our technological, cultural, and historical databases with the Council for independent verification. We have nothing to hide. Additionally, Dr. Yunji added, we offer to host Council inspection teams on Earth and on our ships. Come see how we really live. Judge us by our actions, not by your fears. Representative Young-ho looked surprised. You would allow potentially hostile aliens to visit your homeworld? Counselor, Admiral Jinwoo replied. If Captain Yuna could trust us enough to bring her crew to our ships, surely we can trust the Council enough to invite you to our world. The Council session continued for 6 more hours. Human representatives answered questions about everything from their military capabilities to their child-rearing practices. They shared detailed information about Earth's history, human psychology, and their plans for peaceful exploration of the galaxy. Finally, High Counselor Quan called for a recess while the Council deliberated. Captain Yuna found herself in the waiting area with Admiral Jinwoo and his crew. Do you think they'll accept us? Lieutenant Taehyun asked. I don't know. Captain Yuna replied honestly. Change is hard for the Council. They've spent centuries building a galaxy based on the idea that only gentle species can be trusted. What happens if they reject us? Dr. Yunji asked. Then we keep trying, Admiral Jinwoo said firmly. Captain Yuna has given us something precious, proof that peaceful contact between species is possible. Even if the Council rejects us today, other species will learn the truth eventually. And if they accept us? Then the real work begins, Captain Yuna said. Building relationships. The journey to Villani Prime took 3 days. Captain Yuna traveled aboard Soul's Vengeance as Admiral Jinwoo's guest, while her crew followed in their repaired ship. During the journey, she learned more about human history and culture than any alien had ever known. Dr. Yunji became her constant companion, sharing stories about Earth and human civilization. Captain, I want you to understand something important about my species, she said as they sat in the ship's observation deck. Humans didn't become strong because we wanted to fight. We became strong because we had to survive. Through the large windows, they could see the stars streaming past as the human fleet traveled at faster than light speed. It was beautiful and peaceful, nothing like the violent journey Captain Yuna had expected. Tell me about your wars, she said. The galactic databases say humans are always fighting each other. Dr. Yunji sighed. It's true that humans have fought many wars throughout our history, but you need to understand why. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's history. Our planet has limited resources. Different groups of humans lived in different environments and developed different cultures. Sometimes they competed for the same resources. So you fought for territory and wealth? Sometimes. But most of our major wars were fought for other reasons. We fought against slavery, against oppression, against genocide. We fought to protect weak people from strong ones who wanted to hurt them. The display showed images of human conflicts throughout history. But as Dr. Yunji explained each war, Captain Yuna began to see a pattern. Humans often fought to protect others, not just themselves. This war was to stop one group of humans from killing millions of innocent people. This one was to free people who were being held as slaves. This one was to protect small countries from being conquered by larger ones. You fought to protect people who weren't even your own species? We've fought to protect other humans, yes. But now that we know there are other intelligent species in the galaxy, we would fight to protect them too if necessary. Captain Yuna was quiet for a long moment. On Valani Prime, we have no wars. We've never needed to fight anyone. That's because you were lucky enough to evolve on a safe world, Dr. Yunji replied. Your species never faced the challenges that forced humans to become warriors. But that doesn't make you better or worse than us, just different. But the galaxy sees your warrior nature as evidence that you're dangerous. I know, and I understand why. If I saw a species that had weapons and scars from fighting, I might be scared too. Lieutenant Tae-hyun joined their conversation. Captain, Yuna, can I ask you something about galactic politics? Of course. Dr. Yunji showed me some of the databases from your ship. It looks like most galactic species live on very safe, peaceful worlds. Is that true? Yes. The Galactic Council only accepts members from worlds that meet certain safety standards. Dangerous worlds are considered unsuitable for intelligent life. What about species that evolved on dangerous worlds? Captain Yuna looked uncomfortable. They're usually classified as uncontrolled or quarantine required. The Council believes that species from dangerous worlds are too unpredictable to interact safely with civilized beings. Lieutenant Tae-hyun and Dr. Yunji exchanged looks. So humanity isn't the only species being kept out of the galactic community? Tae-hyun asked. No. There are dozens of species that have been classified as too dangerous for normal contact. Some because their worlds are hostile environments, others because they have aggressive tendencies. Have any of these species ever actually attacked galactic civilization? Captain Yuna thought about this. Actually, no. Most of them have never had the chance. They're isolated in their home systems and prevented from expanding into galactic space. So the Council is afraid of them based on assumptions, not actual evidence. The Council prefers to be cautious. It's better to prevent problems than to deal with them after they happen. Dr. Yunji leaned forward. Captain, what if I told you that most of these dangerous species are probably just like humans, strong and capable because they had to be, but not actually violent or aggressive unless threatened? I never thought about it that way. Think about it now. You spent days believing humans were monsters, but when you actually met us, what did you find? I found people who were kind, helpful, and genuinely concerned about the welfare of strangers. So maybe the galaxy's fears are based on misunderstanding rather than real danger. Captain Yuna felt her worldview shifting again. Everything she had believed about the galaxy's structure and policies was being challenged by what she had learned about humans. Meanwhile, on Harmony's Dream, Chief Scientist Bora was having her own revelations. She was working with technical, Sergeant Dongyun to understand human engineering principles. Your technology is so different from ours, she told him. We use elegant, efficient solutions that work in harmony with natural forces, but your technology is about overwhelming problems with brute force. Dongyun laughed. That's a pretty accurate description. We call it the human way. If something doesn't work, hit it with more power until it does. But that seems so wasteful and crude. Maybe, but it's also reliable. Our brute force solutions work in situations where elegant solutions might fail. He showed her a human tool called a hammer. This is one of our oldest and most important tools. It's just a heavy piece of metal on a stick. Very crude. But it works for thousands of different jobs. Bora examined the hammer carefully. It's so simple, but I can see how it would be effective. That's the thing about human technology. We design things to work even when conditions are terrible. Because on Earth conditions are often terrible. And that's why your ships are so heavily armored and armed? Exactly. Space can be dangerous. Equipment fails. Hostile aliens might attack. Pirates might try to rob you. So we build everything tough enough to handle the worst possible situation. But you use this military technology for peaceful purposes. Of course. The same ship that can fight a battle can also rescue people from a disaster. The same soldiers who can capture enemies can also deliver medical supplies to refugees. Engineer Minho had been listening to this conversation. So human military technology is actually rescue technology? All human technology serves multiple purposes, Donghyun explained. We can't afford to waste resources, so everything has to be useful. In different ways, Bora was beginning to understand. Your entire civilization is designed around the idea that problems will occur, and you need to be ready for them. Right. We hope for the best, but we prepare for the worst. While our civilization is designed around the idea that serious problems should never occur in the first place, which works great if you live on a safe world, but it leaves you helpless when real problems do happen. The conversation was interrupted by an announcement from Admiral Jinwoo. All ships, we are approaching the Villani home system. Reduce speed and prepare for normal space entry. Captain Yuna felt nervous as they dropped out of hyperspace near her home world. Villani Prime was beautiful, a blue and green planet with gentle clouds and soft sunlight. But she was worried about how her people would react to the human fleet. Admiral, she said over the communication system, my government is already sending messages. They want to know why 50 warships have entered our space. What should I tell them? Admiral Jinwoo asked. Tell them the truth. Tell them you're here as friends, bringing their people home safely. The next few hours were tense. Villani defense ships surrounded the human fleet, but they were tiny compared to the human vessels. It was clear that if the humans wanted to attack, there was nothing the Villani could do to stop them. But the humans made no threatening moves. They simply waited patiently while Captain Yuna communicated with her government. The Council of Elders wants to meet with you, she finally announced. They're curious about humans, but they're also frightened. We understand, Admiral Jinwoo replied. We'll do whatever makes them most comfortable. They want you to send only a small group to the surface, no more than 5 humans, and no weapons. That seems reasonable. I'll come myself, along with Dr. Yunji, Lieutenant Taehyun, Technical Sergeant Dongyun, and Commander Minji. Admiral, are you sure that's wise, coming to an alien world with no protection? Admiral Jinwoo's voice was calm and confident. Captain Yuna, if we can't trust you and your people, then there's no point in trying to build a relationship between our species. Trust has to start somewhere. As the human shuttle descended toward Villani Prime, Captain Yuna felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She was about to introduce her people to the galaxy's most feared species. Everything she said and did in the next few hours could determine whether humans remained isolated outcasts or became part of the galactic community. The shuttle landed in the capital city of Villani Prime, a beautiful metropolis made of living crystal that grew up from the planet's surface like a magnificent garden. Thousands of Villani had gathered to see the legendary Deathworlders. When Admiral Jinwoo stepped out of the shuttle, a collective gasp went through the crowd. He was enormous compared to the Villani, and his scarred face and strong build made him look like a warrior from their worst nightmares. But then he did something unexpected. He knelt down on one knee, bringing himself closer to the Villani eye level, and spoke in their language. Captain Yuna had never imagined she would walk through the corridors of a Deathworlder battleship. The Soul's Vengeance was massive inside, with hallways wide enough for vehicles to drive through. Everything was built on a scale that made her feel tiny and fragile. Lieutenant Taehyun walked beside her, moving slowly to match her smaller steps. Other humans they passed in the corridors all stopped and stared at her with curious but friendly expressions. Some even smiled and nodded politely. "They're not afraid of me," Yuna observed with surprise. "Why would they be afraid?" Taehyun asked. "You're our guest, and you seem very nice. But I'm an alien, a completely different species." "So? We've always wondered what other intelligent species would be like. Everyone on the ship is excited to meet you." They entered a large room that Taehyun called the mess hall. It was filled with hundreds of humans eating their meals. When they saw Captain Yuna, many of them stood up and applauded, not the aggressive cheering of warriors, but the warm applause of people welcoming a friend. Yuna was confused by this reaction. "Why are they clapping?" "Because you're the first alien visitor we've ever had," Taehyun explained. "This is a historic moment for our species." They continued to the bridge where Admiral Jinwoo was waiting. He was older than the other humans, with gray hair and kind eyes. When he saw Captain Yuna, he stood up and bowed respectfully. "Captain Yuna, welcome aboard my ship. I hope our crew has been treating you well." "More than well, Admiral. Your people have been incredibly kind and helpful. I must admit, this is not what I expected from Deathworlders." Admiral Jinwoo looked confused. "There's that word again. Deathworlders. What exactly do other species say about humans?" Captain Yuna hesitated. She didn't want to offend her hosts, but they seemed genuinely curious about their reputation in the galaxy. "The stories say that humans are violent predators who evolved on a planet so dangerous that it created monsters. They say you are incredibly strong, fast, and aggressive. That you solve all problems with violence and conquest." The humans on the bridge looked at each other with surprise and concern. "Is that really what other species think of us?" Commander Minji asked. "I'm afraid so," Yuna replied. "Your planet Earth is classified as a death world in our databases. Most species consider it completely uninhabitable." Dr. Yunji stepped forward. "Captain Yuna, may I ask what your homeworld is like?" "Villani Prime is a gentle world. The gravity is light. The sunlight is soft and filtered through our atmosphere. We have no dangerous animals or poisonous plants. The weather is always mild and pleasant." "And what about other worlds that galactic species consider normal?" "Most civilized worlds are similar to mine. Safe, peaceful, with carefully controlled environments." Admiral Jinwoo was beginning to understand. "So from your perspective, Earth really is a death world." "What do you mean?" Dr. Yunji pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's environmental data. "Captain, let me show you what our planet is like. Our gravity is probably 3 times stronger than yours. Our atmosphere has oxygen levels that would be toxic to most species. We have severe weather systems with winds that can destroy buildings." Change the display to show various Earth animals. "These are some of our predators. This is a lion, this is a tiger, this is a grizzly bear. They could kill most galactic species with a single attack." Captain Yuna stared at the images in horror. "And you live alongside these monsters?" "They're not monsters to us," Admiral Jinwoo said gently. "They're just animals. Dangerous, yes, but we've learned to coexist with them." "But how do you survive?" "We adapted," Dr. Yunji explained. "Our bodies became strong to handle the high gravity. Our reflexes became fast to avoid predators. Our immune systems became powerful to resist diseases. What you see as terrifying abilities are just the tools we needed to survive on our world." "Commander," Minji added, "and because our world was so dangerous, we learned to work together. Humans who fought each other didn't survive. Only the ones who cooperated and helped each other made it through." Captain Yuna was beginning to see humans in a Completely different way. So your strength and speed, they're not for attacking others? Sometimes we have to fight to protect ourselves or others, Admiral Jinwoo said. But mostly we use our abilities to build things, to explore, to help people in trouble. Like rescuing stranded aliens, Lieutenant Taehyun added with a smile. A new voice interrupted their conversation. It was Chief Scientist Bora, speaking through the communication system from Harmony's dream. Captain Yuna, you need to hear this. I've been analyzing the human ship's computer databases. The information they have about other species is fascinating. What have you found? Yuna asked. They have detailed records of dozens of alien species, but they've never had direct contact with any of them. All their information comes from intercepted communications and long-range observations. Admiral Jinwoo nodded sadly. It's true. We've been trying to make peaceful contact with other species for decades, but they always run away when they detect human ships. Why? Yuna asked. Because they're afraid of us, Commander Minji replied. Just like you were afraid when you saw our fleet approaching. Dr. Yunji pulled up more data on her screen. Captain, let me show you something else. These are human rescue operations from the past 10 years. The display showed dozens of missions where human ships had responded to disasters on colony worlds, space stations, and other ships. In every case, the humans had arrived to help, but most of the aliens had fled before they could provide assistance. You've been trying to help other species all this time? Yuna asked. Of course, Admiral Jinwoo said. When we detect a distress signal or a natural disaster, we respond if we can. It doesn't matter what species is in trouble. But most aliens run away from us, Lieutenant Taehyun added. You're the first group that actually let us help. Only because our ship was too damaged to run, Yuna admitted. The conversation was interrupted by an excited voice from the ship's communication system. It was Technical Sergeant Dong Yun, calling from Harmony's dream. Admiral, you need to see what we found in the alien ship's cultural database. These Villani have incredible technology and scientific knowledge. Their crystalline computing systems are centuries ahead of ours in some areas. Engineer Minho's voice joined the conversation. And the humans have shown us engineering techniques we never imagined. Their brute force approach to problems actually works very well in some situations. Admiral Jinwoo smiled. It sounds like our engineers are learning from each other. This is exactly what we hoped would happen someday, Dr. Yunji said. Peaceful, cooperation between species, sharing knowledge and helping each other. Captain Yuna felt a warm feeling growing in her crystal chest. For the first time in her life, she was part of something that involved multiple intelligent species working together. Admiral, she said, I need to ask you something important. What will happen now? Will you let us return to our home world? Of course, Jinwoo replied immediately. You're free to go whenever you want. But I hope you'll consider staying for a while as our guests. There's so much we could learn from each other. And there's something else, Commander Minji added. You're the first aliens to see what humans are really like. The first to know that we're not the monsters other species think we are. What do you mean? Admiral Jinwoo looked serious. Captain Yuna, humanity has been isolated for decades because other species fear us. We've tried to join the galactic community, but we're always rejected because of our reputation as Deathworlders. The Galactic Council has even discussed quarantining your entire species, Yuna said quietly. There are proposals to prevent humans from leaving your solar system. The bridge became very quiet. This was clearly news to the humans. Quarantining? Us? Dr. Yunji asked. Like we're some kind of disease? They're afraid you'll spread violence and chaos throughout the galaxy, Yuna explained. They think Deathworld species are naturally aggressive and can't be trusted. But you know that's not true now, Lieutenant Taehyun said. You've seen what we're really like. Captain Yuna nodded slowly. Yes, I have. And I think the galaxy needs to know the truth about humans. What are you suggesting? Admiral Jinwoo asked. Let me return to Villani space. Let me tell my government and the Galactic Council what I've learned here. Let me be the voice that explains what humans are really like. Would they believe you? They'll have to. I have sensor recordings of everything that happened here. video of humans working to save alien lives, audio of your voices speaking with kindness and respect, scientific data showing how carefully you treated our fragile technology. And if they don't believe you, Captain Yuna's crystal body glowed brighter with determination. Then I'll keep trying until they do. The galaxy needs to know that the Deathworlders of Earth are not monsters. They're heroes. Admiral Jinwoo stood up and extended his hand toward Captain Yuna, then caught himself and bowed instead, remembering that a human handshake might hurt her. Captain Yuna, if you're willing to speak for humanity to the galactic community, then humans will be forever in your debt. I'm willing, Admiral, but I want something in return. What? I want to take some of my crew on a tour of your ship. I want them to see what I've seen. I want them to understand that everything we believed about Deathworlders was wrong. It would be our honor to show you. The moment when the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace was like watching nightmares come to life. Captain Yuna stared at the main screen as 50 warships appeared around them in perfect formation. Each ship was enormous, dark, and covered, with weapons that could destroy entire cities. The largest ship, Soul's Vengeance, was directly in front of them. It was 10 times bigger than their research vessel, and looked like it had been built for war. Scars on its hull showed where it had been hit by enemy weapons and survived. Captain, Navigator Seol-hyun whispered, our sensors show thousands of life forms on those ships. These Deathworlders travel in huge numbers. Communications Officer Do-yeon was shaking as he monitored the radio signals. Captain, they're talking to each other on military frequencies. I can hear battle commands and weapons terminology. Are they targeting us? Captain Yuna asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I can't tell. Their translation systems are different from ours, but it sounds like they're preparing for combat operations. Chief Scientist Bora was studying the sensor readings. Captain, look at these energy signatures. Each of their ships produces more power than our entire home city. And those weapon systems, they could crack our planet's crust. The Bridge of Harmony's dream fell silent except for the worried breathing of the crew. Through the crystal walls, they could see the human ships getting closer. The formations were perfect, military, and threatening. Suddenly, a new voice came through their communication system. It was deep, rough, and spoke in the language of predators. Alien Vessel Harmony's Dream, this is Admiral Jinwoo of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. What is the nature of your emergency? Do-hyun looked at Captain Yuna with panic in his crystal eyes. What do I say, Captain? Tell them the truth, she replied. But be very polite, very respectful. Do-hyun activated the communication system with trembling hands. Honored Deathworlders of Earth. We are grateful that you heard our call. Our ship is dying. Our engines have failed and we will crash into your world soon. We beg for mercy from the mighty warriors of the Death Planet. On the bridge of Soul's Vengeance, Admiral Jinwoo looked confused. Did they just call us? Mighty warriors, and what's this about begging for mercy? Commander Minji was studying the translation readout. Sir, I think they're terrified of us. Their language patterns suggest extreme fear and submission. Dr. Yunji looked up from her xenobiology station. Admiral, they called Earth a death planet. I think they believe we're some kind of monster species. Monsters? Jinwoo stood up from his command chair. We came here to help them and they think we're monsters. Lieutenant Tae-hyun spoke from his communication station. Sir, maybe they've heard stories about humans. Other alien species do call us Deathworlders and avoid our space. Jinwoo thought about this. He knew that other species feared humans, but he had never really understood why. Humans just wanted to explore space and make friends with aliens. But maybe their reputation was worse than he realized. Tae-hyun, open a channel to the alien ship. I want to talk to them directly. Channel open, sir. Jinwoo tried to make his voice as gentle as possible. Captain of Harmony's Dream, my name is Jinwoo. We are here to help you. We do not want to hurt you. Can you tell us what repairs your ship needs? On the alien bridge, Captain Yuna was surprised by the kindness in the Deathworlder's voice. She had expected growling and threats, but Admiral Jinwoo sounded almost Friendly. Admiral Jinwoo, she replied carefully. Our main engine has suffered catastrophic failure. We also have life support problems. Our engineer says the damage cannot be repaired with the parts we have. How much time do you have before your ship enters the atmosphere? Engineer Minho checked his readings. Less than 2 hours, Honored Admiral. And your life support? Chief Scientist Bora answered this time. Perhaps 4 hours of air remaining if our recycling systems continue to fail. There was a pause. Then Admiral Jinwoo's voice came back and it sounded more urgent. Harmony's dream. We are sending rescue ships immediately. Do not be afraid. We will not let you crash. Captain Yuna felt confused. The Deathworlder sounded genuinely concerned about their safety. Admiral, why are you helping us? We are strangers from another species. Another pause. Because you need help, and we can provide it. That's reason enough. On Seoul's vengeance, Admiral Jinwoo was organizing the rescue operation. Minji, signal the engineering ships. I want our best repair teams on this and get Colonel Hyunwoo's Marines ready for boarding operations. Sir, Dr. Unji interrupted. I need to brief the boarding teams about alien physiology. These beings appear to be very fragile. Our normal procedures could accidentally kill them. What do you mean? They seem to be made of living crystal, sir. Low-gravity world, gentle environment. A human handshake could shatter their bones. Normal speaking, volume might damage their hearing. Even our body heat might be uncomfortable for them. Jinwoo realized the seriousness of the situation. Get that information to all rescue teams immediately. And Yunji, prepare detailed instructions for safe contact procedures. 20 minutes later, 3 human ships approached Harmony's dream. They were much smaller than the battleships but still larger than the alien vessel. Captain Yuna watched nervously as docking tubes extended toward their ship. Captain, Seolhyun reported, they're requesting permission to board our ship. Do we have a choice? No, Captain. Our ship is dying. Without their help, we'll all be dead in 2 hours. Captain Yuna took a deep breath. Grant them permission to dock. The first human to enter their ship was Lieutenant Taehyun. He was young for a Deathworlder, but still much larger than any Villani. He moved very slowly and carefully and spoke in a quiet voice. Hello, he said, bowing slightly. I am Lieutenant Taehyun. I'm here to help with communication between our species. Captain Yuna was amazed. The Deathworlder was being polite, respectful, and gentle. This was not what she had expected at all. I am Captain Yuna, she replied. We are grateful for your assistance. Captain, my engineering teams need to examine your ship's systems. They will be very careful not to damage anything or hurt anyone. Is this acceptable? Before Yuna could answer, heavy footsteps echoed through the corridor. 3 more humans appeared wearing what looked like armor and carrying large tool cases. Captain Yuna's crew moved back in fear. The largest human was Technical Sergeant Dongyun. He was built like a machine for war, with muscles that could probably crush metal. But when he spoke, his voice was surprisingly gentle. Please don't be afraid, he said. I know I look scary, but I'm just an engineer. I fix things. Can you show me where your engine room is? Engineer Minho stepped forward nervously. I can show you, but honored warrior, our technology might be very different from yours. That's okay, Donghyun replied with a smile. I like learning about new technology, and please just call me Donghyun. I'm not a warrior, I'm just a mechanic who happens to be in the military. As they moved through the ship, more humans came aboard. Each one was enormous and powerful compared to the Villani, but they all moved carefully and spoke quietly. They treated the crystal aliens like precious, fragile artwork. Dr. Yunji arrived with her medical team. She was smaller than the other humans, but still much larger than Captain Yuna. Captain, I'm a doctor. I'd like to examine your crew to make sure you're all healthy. Is that okay? You know how to treat our species? Yuna asked in surprise. I'm learning. I've been studying the data from your ship's sensors. Your physiology is fascinating. You're silicon-based life forms with crystalline structures, very beautiful and very complex. Chief Scientist Bora was listening to this conversation with growing amazement. You're interested in our biology for scientific reasons? Of course, Dr. Yunji replied. Every species is unique and wonderful. Learning about different forms of life is one of the best parts of my job. In the engine room, Technical Sergeant Dong Hyun was carefully examining the Villani engine systems with engineer Minho. The crystal technology was completely different from human engineering, but Dong Hyun was studying it with obvious interest and respect. This is incredible, he said. Your engine uses crystal resonance to manipulate subspace. It's much more elegant than our brute force approach. You can understand it? Minho asked. I'm starting to. The damage here is from harmonic feedback. Something caused your crystals to vibrate at the wrong frequency. But I think I can fix it if you help me understand the correct resonance patterns. For the next hour, human and Villani engineers worked together to repair the alien ship. The humans were incredibly strong and skilled, but they used their abilities to help rather than to destroy. They treated the delicate crystal technology with the same care they would use handling priceless artwork. Captain Yuna found herself working alongside Lieutenant Tae Hyun to coordinate the repairs. Lieutenant, may I ask you something? Of course. Captain, why are your people helping us? We've heard stories that Deathworlders are violent and dangerous. Tae Hyun looked genuinely confused. Deathworlders? You mean humans? We're not violent. Well, we can be if we need to protect ourselves or others, but we prefer to solve problems peacefully. But you came here with 50 warships. Because we didn't know what we'd find. Your distress signal could have been real, or it could have been pirates trying to. Admiral Jinwoo stood in the war room of Soul's Vengeance looking at the holographic display of the alien ship. The image showed a small vessel made of what looked like crystal or glass. It was beautiful but seemed very fragile. Analysis report, he ordered. Lieutenant Tae Hyun stepped forward with a tablet. Sir, the alien ship is much smaller than we expected, only about 50 meters long. Our destroyer ships are 4 times bigger. The hull appears to be made of some kind of crystalline material. Weapons? None that we can detect, sir. This appears to be a pure research vessel. No armor, no shields, no defensive systems at all. Jinwoo frowned. So they're completely helpless? Yes, sir. And sir, there's something else. Dr. Yunji has been analyzing their distress signal. She thinks these aliens might be very different from us physically. Dr. Yunji stepped up to the holographic display. She was the fleet's chief xenobiologist, an expert in alien life forms. Admiral, based on the signal frequencies in the ship, construction, I believe these aliens evolved on a very gentle world. Low gravity, filtered sunlight, possibly no predators at all. What does that mean for us? It means they might be extremely fragile. What we consider normal physical contact could seriously hurt them. A human handshake might break their bones. Our normal speaking voice might damage their hearing. Commander Minji looked worried. Sir, if they're that fragile and they know we're coming, they might be terrified right now. Jinwoo had not thought about this. Humans were used to other species being afraid of them. Most aliens called Earth a death world and considered humans to be dangerous monsters. But this was the first time humans actually had a chance to help aliens instead of just scaring them away. How long until we reach them? He asked. 2 hours at maximum speed, Minji replied. But sir, we have another problem. The aliens' ship is falling toward Earth. Even if we save them, their ship might crash into our planet. Can we tow it to a safe orbit? Yes, but we'll need to be very careful. That crystal hull looks like it might shatter if we use too much force. Jinwoo made his decision. Signal all ships. We approach slowly and carefully. No sudden movements. All weapons powered down. We want to look as peaceful as possible. And if it's a trap, sir? Then we deal with it. But I don't think a ship that fragile could be a threat to us. On the other side of the solar system, Colonel Hyunwoo was loading his Marines onto transport ships. He had been ordered to prepare for a possible rescue mission, but he wasn't sure what to expect. Listen up, he told his troops. We might be dealing with aliens who are very different from us. They could be small, fragile, or have completely different biology. Our job is to help them, not scare them to death. Sergeant Major Dongyun raised his hand. Sir, what if they're hostile? Then we protect ourselves. But intelligence says this is probably a real emergency. These aliens are in trouble, and we're the only ones who can help them. Dr. Yunji's voice came over the communication system. Colonel, I'm sending you some preliminary data about the aliens. Please review it with your team. Hyunwoo pulled up the data on his tablet. The information was limited, but it painted a picture of a species that was completely unlike humans. They seemed to be made of living crystal, evolved on a world with very gentle conditions. Interesting, he murmured. Okay, everyone listen. These aliens are probably very fragile. We need to move slowly and carefully around them. No sudden movements. Keep your voices low. Think of them like delicate glass sculptures that can think and talk. His Marines looked confused. They were trained to fight, not to be gentle with glass aliens. Sir, asked Private Jihoon, what if we accidentally hurt them just by being there? Then we learn from our mistakes and do better. This might be humanity's first chance to make friends with an alien species. Let's not mess it up. Back on Harmony's dream, the situation was getting worse. Engineer Minho had given them more bad news. The engine damage was spreading to other systems. Captain, we now have less than 3 hours, he reported. And the life support systems are starting to fail. The air recyclers are running at only 60% efficiency. Chief Scientist Bora was studying her tablet with growing concern. Captain, I've been calculating our atmospheric needs. If the life support fails completely, we have maybe 6 more hours of breathable air. Captain Yuna felt the weight of command pressing down on her. 6 crew members were depending on her to save their lives, but she had no idea how to deal with Deathworlders. Any more communication from the Earth ships? She asked. Communications Officer Do-hyun nodded. They've been sending updates every 15 minutes. They say they'll reach us in about 2 hours. But Captain, I've been analyzing their signals. They're not coming in 1 or 2 ships. The radio traffic suggests a large fleet. How large? I can't be sure, but it sounds like dozens of ships. Maybe 50 or more. Navigator Seol-hyun looked up from her station. Captain, I've been studying the data about Deathworlders. They typically travel in large groups because they're always ready for war. Even peaceful missions use military formations. So they think we might be dangerous? Yuna asked. Or they think someone else might try to attack us, Bora suggested. Some Deathworlder species are known to be protective of weaker beings. But we don't know which type these Earth humans are, Do-hyun said quietly. The bridge fell silent again. Through the view screen, they could see the planet Earth growing larger below them. From this distance, it looked beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But according to galactic databases, the surface was a nightmare of extreme weather, dangerous animals, and toxic plants. Captain, Seol-hyun said, I'm detecting ships coming out of hyperspace. Everyone turned to look at the long-range sensors. Dots of light appeared on the screen. First 5, then 10, then 20. The numbers kept climbing. How many? Yuna whispered. 47. 48. 51 ships total, Seol-hyun reported. Captain, these are not small ships. Most of them are bigger than our largest space stations. On the main viewer, they could see the human fleet forming up in the distance. Even at long range, the ships looked massive and threatening. Their hulls were dark and angular, designed for war. Each ship bristled with weapons and defensive systems. They could destroy us with a single shot from their smallest ship, Bora observed. Why would they bring so many ships just to help us? Do-hyun asked. Maybe they don't trust us, Yuna replied. Or maybe this is just how Deathworlders do everything, with overwhelming force. Engineer Minho's voice came over the intercom. Captain, we have a new problem. The failing engine is affecting our artificial gravity. We're starting to experience fluctuations. If it gets worse, we won't be able to function properly. Yuna closed her eyes and tried to think. Their ship was dying. They were trapped in orbit around a death world. And 50 warships full of the galaxy's most feared species were coming to help them. Do-hyun, send another message to the Earth fleet, she ordered. What should I say, Captain? Tell them we are grateful for their assistance. We are a peaceful research vessel with 6 crew members. We have no weapons and pose no threat to anyone. We are simply scholars who need help." As Do-hyun composed the message, Yuna watched the approaching fleet. The ships were moving in perfect formation like a military parade. It was both impressive and terrifying. "Captain," Seol-hyun said, "they're slowing down. They're not approaching at attack speed." "That's good, right?" "I think so. If they wanted to destroy us, they would probably move faster." The human fleet continued its careful approach. On the bridge of Seoul's Vengeance, Admiral Jinwoo was reading the aliens' latest message. "They sound scared," Commander Minji observed. "Can you blame them?" Jinwoo replied. "Look at us from their perspective. They sent a simple distress call and 50 warships showed up. We probably look like we're planning to invade their entire species. Should we send some ships away? No. We're committed now. We just need to be very careful about how we handle this. Signal the fleet. Reduce speed to minimum approach velocity. All ships maintain maximum distance except for rescue vessels." Dr. Yoonji was studying the alien ship through the fleet's sensors. "Admiral, I'm getting more detailed readings now. The ship's hull is definitely some kind of living crystal, and I'm detecting 6 life forms inside. They appear to be small, probably no more than 1.5 meters tall. So they're half our size and made of crystal," Jinwoo mused. "No wonder they're scared of us." The distance between the fleets continued to shrink. On Harmony's Dream, the crew watched as the massive human ships grew larger and larger on their screens. Each ship was a fortress of metal and weapons, scarred from battles across the galaxy. "They look like they've been in many wars," Bora observed. "Deathworlders are always fighting," Seol-hyun replied. "It's how they solve problems." "I hope they don't try to solve our problem that way," Do-hyun said. Nervously, Captain Yuna stood up from her command chair. Around her, her crew looked to her for leadership. They were all scared, but they were also brave enough to trust her decisions. "Whatever happens next," she told them, "we face it together. We are explorers and scientists. We seek knowledge and understanding. Maybe these Deathworlders will kill us, or maybe they will save us, but we will meet them with dignity." The human fleet was now close enough to see individual details on